recognized as one of the most prolific soccer coaches in women's collegiate soccer, and she's currently the head coach of Westchester University. How about the first thing, Betty Ann? How have you dealt with the whole coronavirus thing and with your players and the season? Division II, are they playing in the spring at all?
Actually, we just started practicing yesterday. So we just had our first day out. It was like the first day of Christmas. It was so exciting to just see the girls. We have not seen each other in a year. They have not played together in a year. So it was an exciting day to just see their, whatever we could see of their faces, their beautiful eyes. And at one time I just asked them, pull down your mask so I can see your smile. So it was just great to be outside with them. Of course, it was a lovely day. We actually trained in a parking lot. So it was a lot of fun and just great to see them. But up until that point, I guess what we were doing was a lot of Zoom, Zoom meetings, Zoom trainings, just trying to keep them engaged. But more importantly, I know how disappointed they were, but, I just had to kind of keep telling them to take one day at a time. Be thankful that you have a roof over your house, you have a family that loves you, you have food on the table. And these are things that, my father expressed to us growing up, coming from Europe after the Second World War. So to me, those were the most important lessons I thought that I had to, tell them and let them know that that was the important thing, not even to worry about soccer at that point.
That's a great message. Did all your players show up?
Yeah, well, some of them had class and some of them had to leave early, but oh yeah, for the most part, they were all there. They were excited to be there. Like I said, it was like Christmas Day.
Will you be playing games in addition to just training?
Right now, we don't feel that we'll get out of phase 2. I think things are changing every day. So like I said to the girls, just be open and flexible to anything.
Sounds good. Well, listen, how did you actually get involved with soccer and soccer coaching?
Wow. Interesting story. Actually, I was born into it, I guess you could say. As I said, my father came to this country after the Second World War, and I grew up at a German soccer club, the German-Hungarian club on Bristol Road in Feasterville. And I was exposed to it since the day I was born. Not, just going out to the club. Our livelihood was being out at that club 3-4 days a week. I was exposed to high-level soccer at such an early age, watching it, just playing with boys all the time. I performed in the dance group, a German dance group there. And so it was really funny because after dance practice, we would remove everything off the dance floor and we would create goals and actually play in our stocking feet on the dance floor. So it was just culture to me. It wasn't more or less a sport. It was culture in our family. And that's, not knowing that this would be my livelihood going forward. But I guess to me, that was the ultimate soccer education that I could ever have experienced.
So you primarily played with boys and men.
Yes. And men, even, my father played probably until he was in his late 40s. As he got older, they played with the old timers at the club. And so my father used to take me, especially training sessions in the wintertime, inside gyms. John Oberholzer used to get a gym at Lower Moreland High School, and he would just take me along and we would play, and I would just get in there like I was one of them. It was great.
Did high schools have women's soccer?
No, I did not have that privilege to play high school soccer. I played field hockey. And it was even unheard of for girls to even go out for a boys team at a high school. So, but every minute I could get to play with boys or just, and I was very accepted. It wasn't like they turned me down. It was like, here she comes, let's go, get her involved. It was never a question of whether I could do it or not.
Obviously, you were a strong player then if they wanted to have you all the time.
I don't know.
Do you ever feel, though, that you missed out a little bit by not having the chance to play?
Absolutely. But, I'm living living the dream through coaching and helping other females find their way through it and find out about who they are as people, more importantly. But yeah, I feel that I've missed out on that for sure. But I had the opportunity to play competitive sports in college. It wasn't soccer, but I played other sports, basketball and field hockey. So that helped me to have that kind of experience.
So what was your first coaching job?
My first coaching job was high school. The high school that I attended was Cardinal Doherty High School. Mm-hmm. And when I went there in the 70s, it was one of the largest Catholic high schools in the world, close to 6,000 students. And so when I was a senior in college, the then athletic director, phoned me and said, "We are going to start a girls' soccer program, and we've heard a lot about you. We would like to bring you in for a coach." And I said, "Coach, I've never even thought about coaching." I said, "I'm still young and want to play, and I need to get a teaching job." And so I went in there for an interview and hired me on the spot. And the boys soccer coach at the time was a very well-liked man by the name of Jack Smith. And he was great and instrumental in getting me involved there and getting me, as a coach there. And things just fell into place. And I was there for about 4 or 5 years and just knew that, hey, this is something that I'd like to do, but I'd like to go on further and have the opportunity to coach females that were much more serious and engaged in the sport.
Sure. Is that when LaSalle contacted you?
Yes. Another great man by the name of Bill Wilkinson, who was a great soccer player, played at German Hungarian club. I grew up with his one son and know his family very well. And he came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to start a female soccer team here at LaSalle." And he said, "Why don't you come and have an interview?" And so that's how that got started.
Is that a part-time position?
That was part-time at the time, yes. So I was teaching elementary school at St. Cecilia's in Fox Chase, and that's the neighborhood that I was from and the elementary school I attended. So I was teaching there, and the pastor at the time was very accommodating to me and just said, "Listen, this is a great opportunity for you. So whatever you need to do, if you need to cancel classes and go to games, that's fine with me." So that opened up another door.
That's a great story. When you first took the LaSalle job, did you have any idea how many women coaches were coaching in D1 at that time?
No, I did not know.
Were you one of the few?
Yes. And in fact, I knew nothing about coaching at the collegiate level. As you know, there are a lot of NCAA rules and regulations that you have to follow. And they just handed me a bag of balls and said, "Here, you start this program." And I'm like, wow. I mean, I was like in the dark, trying to find my way.
Did you have a sense of confidence in yourself, though, that you'll?
Yeah, especially because I felt like the game, I've been around the game all my life and knew a lot of prominent people and a lot of people who had a lot of faith in me and what I could do. So yes, I had a lot of confidence back then.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you have people you would go back to and confide in them? I have some issues. Can you give me some help here?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Mr. Wilkinson at the time was the men's soccer coach there. He helped me out a lot. Pat Farrell, his assistant, who then became the head coach. I had other mentors within EPYSA that I could go to, and just people that knew me and just kind of embraced me in terms of helping me and anything that they could do.
So you move on to Seton Hall, which was a stronger Division I club, I think, than LaSalle at that time.
Yes.
Was that a full-time position?
Yes, actually, that was in the early 90s. And throughout the country, I would say at that particular time, that's when women's soccer was starting to bust open. And there were full-time positions being offered all over the place. And I had spoke to Mr. Barr at the time at Penn State. They were also beginning a program at the same time as Seton Hall. And I had applied there, and he actually wanted to get me up for an interview there. And then in the meantime, Seton Hall had called and invited me up for an interview. And I really felt very comfortable there on campus. It was a real sense of community on campus there. And of course, Manfred Schellscheit was the men's soccer coach at the time, who I watched play for the Philadelphia Atoms. Right. And was in his circles a few times during my time of growing up. So I kind of knew him, and it was really comforting to be able to sit down with him and talk soccer, but not only in English, but in German as well.
Wow.
So we created a really good bond at the time, and I felt really comfortable. And, Mr. Barr gave me the nods, and at the time he was very close with Manfred Schellscheit. They were very good friends. So I knew that was probably the best place for me at that particular time.
Yeah, I remember Manny when I was coaching regionally, and his stories were just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they were so long, we missed a little bit of the training session.
Well, I understand that. And there were many rides that we took to Big East meetings up in Providence. And that was like a 3 to 4 hour drive. And before you knew it, we were there because it was one story after the other. But what was intriguing was that all of the people he was speaking about, I had known or I had watched play growing up.
I know.
So, and these were all my role models. I didn't have a female role model in soccer that I could look up to. It was all males.
So your success is kind of unique compared to the way coaches are rising up today.
Yes.
Any major problems you had at Seton Hall for starting up a new program?
No, I mean, just that it was, leaving an area that you felt comfortable in and where everybody knew you. And now I'm going into North Jersey, which, is really realistically 12 miles outside of New York City. And so it's a real fast pace up there. It's a very different atmosphere, even though it's not that far away. So that was like a whole new experience for me. But I really looked at it as an opportunity to get to learn more about myself and what I could do outside of my comfort zone. And so I just felt very comfortable with the campus there and the sense of community. It was very close-knit. The coaches, everybody was very close.
What was your most memorable moment up there?
I believe recruiting a player like Kelly Smith. And beating Notre Dame, who was like #1 in the country.
I know, that was great. Tell us a little about Kelly, though. I mean, obviously Kelly, the best player to come out of England.
Yeah, Kelly was a special player. And actually, one of my real good buddies, Terry Underkoffler, had seen Terry play in England. And he took a youth team over there and came back and said, I met this girl, and her father approached me and said that, he thought it would be great if she could go to America to play. And Terry came back and contacted a few of us collegiate coaches that he was involved with. And at first I was a little apprehensive. And then I thought, well, you know what? I grew up in a foreign existence with soccer. Let me just reach out to her. And the first phone call I made was probably about an hour because we never got off the phone. I talked to her, shared my background with her, but then we started talking about players in England. My brother had played with the Philadelphia Fury and some English players like Alan Ball. So we started relating, and I think she was amazed that, wow, this American woman knows all about international soccer. And I had grown up with all of that, and so then one thing led to the other, and I invited her and her father over for a visit. I thought it was important that her father and mother would understand, where she was going to go to school. I actually went to England to recruit her, met with the family, sat down with them. I went through my whole background and what my philosophy is. And the parents felt very comfortable with me and in the hands that she was going to be in. And from the time she stepped on the field, and she came late because at that time we had the NCAA clearinghouse and it was in its initial stages. And so it wasn't perfected yet. And so it was like back and forth. Is she going to get here? Is she going to get here? And then finally we were doing our preseason down at the Jersey Shore, and she stepped on her field, and my assistant coach nudged me and said, "You have no idea what kind of player this is." She just was incredible. And when I had gone to see her play in England, I had to watch her play indoor because it had snowed that weekend. Right. And you could see her technical ability and her mind and the creativity but fitness was a question mark, something that she had to work on. But just having a player like that was incredible. It was great for the other girls to be a part of that. And she just made everybody look great.
Yeah. Do you still keep in contact with her?
Yes. In fact, we texted back and forth last week because I'd seen that her country was going through a more severe lockdown than we were. And so I kind of reached out to her, see how her and her family is. She said, the only thing I'm allowed to do right now is go out to the park for a walk, and then I have to come home. So it's been really stringent over there. And but I do keep in touch with her, and she's doing a great job with Fox, with the World Cup, broadcasting that. And a funny story about her is, when she first came to Seton Hall, her first year, she only had 3 years to play with us. And her first year, she broke every one of Mia Hamm's records in 3 years. And then the first year she was there, she did such a great job in the Big East that she was named Big East Player of the Year.
Right.
And so we went to the banquet, and they were getting ready to present it to her, and they called her name out, and she was nowhere to be found. And I turned around in the banquet hall and I said to the players, "Where's Kelly?" Well, she ran to the bathroom. So I got up, ran to the bathroom, and I said, "Kelly, you have to come out and accept this award." And she was plastered up against the wall. And she said, "I can't, Betty Ann, I can't speak in front of people." So I go up and accept the award. She was like overwhelmed by the whole thing. And then the day that it was announced, well, what happened was, I guess when the World Cup was coming to Canada, I had called her and said, "I'm getting in touch with you because I want to see where you're playing in Canada, because I think that this might be the first time that I see you in person playing. And I'd like to see you play one more time." And she says, "Well," she said, "I just got out of the FA, and I told them that I'm resigning from the women's national team because I have this opportunity to work with Fox." And I said, "Wow, this is going to be awesome." So the first day of that World Cup, I'm in the kitchen doing work, and she comes on the screen, and Ed, my husband, Ed Townsley, says to me, "You got to come in here and see this." I run in, and she's there like professional as can be, and really handling herself well, and just in her own way, giving her own synopsis of the games and the lineups. And I'm like, wow, this girl's come a long way. And
that is an incredible story.
It just is a great story. And I'm like, wow. I mean, she is something else. And again, before her time, I felt so bad because there were many World Cups that England did not even participate in, and I'm thinking, this talent is here. It's so natural. And, she can't even explain the things that she can do on the field, because it's like an artist. I mean, they don't know. They just paint the picture, whatever is in their mind. And that's how she plays the game.
Well, it sounds like her background was a lot like yours. I'm sure she was playing with boys the whole time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And her father was a player also?
Just a little bit on the side. Very humble man, worked very hard, was an interior designer, decorator, very humble people, lived in a simple home in England, great people. And really, none of this has ever gone to her head. I mean, she's been just humble and, can do anything she wants in terms of helping individuals in the game.
Sounds good. So after your Seton Hall career, you decided to come back to Westchester, Philadelphia area. Any reasons behind the move?
Oh, yeah. Lots of reasons. Actually, as you know, my husband, Ed Townsley, has been involved in soccer all his life and was the women's national B team coach at one time. And we've known each other a long time. And, we had many years of dating and decided to get married. And so, there was no need for him to move up to North Jersey. And I said, I don't need to do this anymore. I can move back to Pennsylvania. So I really didn't know what I was going to do, other than I said, listen, as long as I'm working with people and children, and to me, this was never a job for me. It's a vocation or a calling. And I think when you look at things that way, you're able to be flexible and do whatever you can. And so as long as I was around people and kids and helping, I would be fine. I'd be satisfied. And then as soon as I moved back, I got phone calls from so many people about helping out and doing things and coaching. And actually, I was kind of situated in coaching an Octorara High School boys team.
Right.
And looked like that's where I was going to go. And then I got a call from Charlotte Moran and Kendall Walk saying, listen, we have this job at Westchester. How would you like to take it over? And I said, you know what? I'm done with college coaching, because even in my last year at Seton Hall, I had a player that passed away of liver cancer.
Wow.
And that was a really very difficult thing to go through. And I was, emotionally withdrawn, and it was just hard. And I thought, you know what, I need to kind of get away from this for a while. And when they called and asked if I would interview, I said, I don't want to do any more college coaching. I'm done. And even at the Division I level, you're traveling a lot. You're flying all over the world. I mean, it's very difficult to have a life. And that's one of the reasons I chose to remove myself from that, because if I'm getting married, you can't have a married life and maintain that kind of success at that level. And so, Westchester called and I said, okay, it doesn't hurt to go for, an interview. And I did. And so they offered me the job, and sat down with my sister and went through the pros and cons. And here I am 15 years later.
That's great. I can remember seeing Charlotte with the biggest smile on her face when she found out that you and Ed were getting married. She was always pushing for that, it seemed like.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway.
She was, great inspiration to the young girls, getting a lot of what we have here in the state of Pennsylvania. If it wasn't for her, or there are a lot of girls that wouldn't be playing soccer or being at places that they had the opportunity.
Yeah, the more I talk to players who are getting a little older now, the impact Charlotte had on them is incredible. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it wasn't just the kids in Pennsylvania, it was all of Region 1.
That's correct.
Really special woman. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you get to Westchester, and all of a sudden you just have this amazing success coming right out of the chute. What do you attribute it to?
First of all, they had success there before I got there. So, it was the first time I was taking over a program, which the two collegiate programs that I was involved in, I had to start all, from scratch. So I was taking over this particular program, and, there was a lot of great talent there, but at the same time, those poor players had three coaching changes in 4 years. So they needed a little bit of stability. And, I think just kind of molding those players into my philosophy and what I thought at first, I think it was hard for them to accept me. But as the season progressed, they understood what I was there to do. And I think over the years, I've been able to bring players in that, are of sound moral character and want to compete and want to be competitive. And, but, at the end of the day, it's not just all about wins and losses. It's just, okay, this is the program we're going to put in here. We're going to develop, and help young people find their way through life. And, I think, like I said, it's been a calling for me, or a vocation. And as long as I can keep my mind focused on that, everything else should take care of itself.
So you're enjoying Westchester more than you did LaSalle and Seton Hall?
Well, I mean, there's just different parts of your life. I mean, I can't say I enjoy it more. At the time when I'm in those situations, I certainly have enjoyed it. But, as you get older, your priorities change and things happen too in your life. And I think it becomes a different perspective at different times of your life.
It looks like you have a lot of girls returning for the fall.
Yeah.
Looking at your roster. Are those seniors going to be allowed to have another year?
They do have another year. Some of them have opted out because they want to move on with their lives in terms of, what they want to do. They want to go to graduate school. Some of them have already gotten jobs, are committed to a job. I feel bad that, that season was taken away from them. Because, I stress all the time, just enjoy what you have now, because this experience, you will never, ever have this experience again in your life. And I feel that I'm there to provide that opportunity, but create an experience they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
What are some of the issues now you're with recruiting for you? It must be kind of a nightmare figuring out your roster for next season, the kids you're bringing in.
Yeah, it's it's really a challenge. It has been a challenge. I feel bad for the kids that are seniors and juniors in high school right now, because what they thought their experience would be through this program has changed. And I think this is a lesson in life for all of us. And I think things will continue to change. I mean, none of us know what this is going to look like when we come through COVID. None of us know if the NCAA is going to make changes or what's going to happen. And so that's why I just stress, let's take one day at a time. And things are changing every single day, even on our campus, with how we're able to conduct practices. So I think it's lessons that we've all learned. I think some of the younger players are going to learn that this recruiting process doesn't have to be done when you're a sophomore or junior in high school. And I think that is probably the thing that has destroyed a lot for so many players, because they've made commitments when they're sophomores in high school. They don't really understand who they are and what they want to do with their lives. And then by the time they're a senior, their situation may change. And then they end up going to schools that they may not like, or they don't feel comfortable at, or it doesn't have what they want to major in. So therefore, they kind of get stuck in that sort of process and end up transferring or finding their way otherwise. So this may give kids the opportunity to just sit back and, like this whole 10 months, whatever it's been, is I just keep telling, get to know who you are. Get to know who you are. It's not about, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? Get to know who you are and go inside of yourself and examine who you are and sit in silence and think about what it is you want to do with your life, because that's really, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to college for. Right. It's not necessarily to play soccer. And if you can do that at an institution that has what you want to major in, then that's a bonus.
Sure.
So I think that it's been a change for all of us. Certainly, I would love to take all the players that want to come to Westchester, but unfortunately, we have roster restrictions. But if I can be of help to players that if they can't come to Westchester, so be it. I try and offer my services that way as well.
Yeah, you've had some success with D1 transfers, though, coming to Westchester and being happy and making your program into a winning program.
Right.
Is that is the word getting out that Westchester is a great place to go to now?
Yeah, I think the school has certainly attracted better students, better student athletes. I think that our program, I think kids are starting to do more research. The fact that myself, coached at the Division I level, and now I have an assistant like Maddie Evans, who played at Penn State, was a captain there, played in the NWSL. Both of us are very competitive people. So we run our training sessions like that, like at that highest level, but at the same time, it's a much more balanced atmosphere at the Division II level. And I think that's what is helping me stay in collegiate soccer, is the fact that it is balanced and it's not 7 days a week, that I'm out all the time. And so even this time when we were in lockdown, it was a chance to, hey, let's enjoy life a little bit more. Let's look at the things that I never get a chance to do, like read a book or research or, things like that, and clean my house and go through things that boxes and boxes that you've accumulated and get rid of things, Sure. So it's helped us all to pause and say, hey, what is life all about? And, and I think that's what kids really have to find out if they're going to college or not. What do I want to do? How do I want to help mankind? What is it that I'm called to do? And I think that's the future. I think
you're right. With the recruits you have coming in, if there's parents listening to this broadcast down the road, What do you recommend to them about getting the information about their daughters to college coaches?
Well, I think, film, obviously, we're all kind of on this Zoom thing all the time. I think film is very critical. However, that's not the end all and the be all. Um, you know, Contacting coaches, emails, sending anything you can. I know that I do a lot of speaking with club coaches. Club coaches are with them. They've been training with them. They've watched them grow over the years. They know not only their skill level, but what their training habits are like, what they're like in competition, what the mental side of them is in terms of stepping out on the field and competing. So I spend a lot of time talking to club coaches and possibly high school coaches as well.
Do you try to get a chance to see all your recruits?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My father told me that years ago. Don't ever, I made a mistake once that I did. I recruited a player and I never saw her play, and it turned out to not be a good situation. But my father always said to me, you've got to go see a player play. You can't go by everything you hear.
So it sounds like your father really had a huge impact on
Yes, he did. He had a huge impact on me and teaching me lessons of life. And my mother, who was also involved, both of them started, I guess, the program at the German Hungarian Club when I was about 17 or 18 years old. I started playing organized soccer probably in 1973 at Fox Chase, and then went to German Hungarian Club. And my parents were very instrumental in getting that off and running. And so they were both involved. And of course, I have a brother who was a great player himself, played professionally here and for Bayern Munich, and then kicked in the NFL. And then my sister who played at Villanova. So it's like I said, it's a culture in our family.
Yeah. Do you ever feel any pressure from your mom or dad?
Absolutely none whatsoever, and none growing up. And it was never something we had to do. It was just something we enjoyed. And I can remember being a kid, just even today, I just love to be outside and running around, and kicking a ball was right at me from the time I could walk. My father took me out to the park down in Kensington, started teaching me how to kick a ball. And it was the experience at the German Hungarian Club. I can to this day remember some of those men that have played in the 60s and the 70s, truly how they played. I can remember them to a T, and when I talk about those days, and I say to kids, you could go to a United Soccer League match on a Sunday and watch men play, and there would be 3,000 to 4,000 people on the sidelines, dressed up, watching a game. And then, what it was great about the club, and this is what I brought into all my coaching arenas, is that after the game, you would go into the club and you would share drink together and food together and dance together. And it was all about camaraderie and family and unity. And that's what I try and instill in all my teams. I take them away to Charleston, give them a little history down there, introduce them to people they've never met before, just kind of make it holistic and not just, here's a sport and you got to play it. It was just more than that, so much more than that.
I would imagine then that the players you coach go on and tell other players how much fun they had there, how much they learned. So I guess it's a great recruiting tool, just keeping that family thing going.
Yep.
How about some key moments from your Westchester career so far that you remember, players or a big game?
It's interesting because when you're a good team, every game's a big game. Everybody wants to beat you. So there are no easy walks in the park. And, something about coaching is that, what you've learned, or even as a player, we all have bad days and good days. It doesn't matter how talented you are. And I certainly understand that about life. But I can't think about, there are so many big days and big games and so many things that we've won that, for me, it's just every day to be able to get out on the field and watch these kids play and have an experience and have a smile on their face. And, that's the joy I get out of it, but I'll tell you, there is one thing I have to say. I had Shelley Chamberlain coach with me for a period of time as an assistant. And Shelley and I would share all kinds of stories too of the past. And it was a lot of fun having him in the office and talking about the old days and coaching with EPYSA and the things that we used to do, because we were coaches together on the state level as well. And, I can remember being in our office, and we shared an office together, and he would be at one desk and I would be at another, and I'd be doing my work. And all of a sudden, everything goes quiet. And I'm thinking, what the heck's Terry? What's Shelley doing over there? And I look, and there he is, taking a little nap. So, those things, and just being able to share with people like that. Like, I know one of the real icons that I was able to coach with early on when I coached with Eastern Pennsylvania was Joe Krantz. I mean, he was another great guy who looked at this whole thing about coaching as a vocation and did a lot of great things for kids, and just was a role model for soccer and the things that he's done. And so these are memories. It's memories of people and experiences. It's not so much the games, the wins and the losses. It's just all the experiences.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Joe Krantz, because I found him to be the funniest, nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of success at Wood. So all
yeah,
these bring it back.
And we all enjoyed going to regional camp with him, because every night was, if it wasn't Joe, it was Shelley Chamberlain, or Terry Undertoffler, and then Charlotte would come in. I mean, it was just, and then the two women that worked in the office there, Kate and Carol, they were just awesome people, everything that they've done and behind the scenes. And, for me, I'm thankful and grateful that these people stayed in the game, remained in the game, became my friends. But it's just been great.
I think in Eastern Pennsylvania, we probably have the richest soccer culture compared to any other states. And telling these stories are important to let people know people who are responsible for all this. Anyway, it was great talking to you.
Great talking with you. It's great to see you.
Yeah, this COVID thing's driving me crazy, though, to be honest with you. And when you said, we did some training and playing in the fall, all messed up, and it was great. But then we got shut down again, and it's just a mess. But you're right, getting out in the soccer field just rejuvenates you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Really does. Anyway, thanks for coming on. Make sure you tell Ed I said hi.
I will do that.
I'll try to get out a couple of your games this fall.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Good. Okay, Betty.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
See ya.
All right, bye-bye.